This is the largest mango plantation in Sri Lanka. Nelna's 60,000 trees supply over 60% of the island's mango market. The fruit is also exported to 15 countries, including Singapore. But the economic crisis has taken a bite out of the harvest.
Angela, good morning.
We have 2 seasons per year. We just ended 1 season. We could not get the expected results. Obviously, with the fuel crisis, it takes time. I mean, the lorries have to go and stay in the queues to fill up their tanks, and then by the time they go to the plantation, mangoes are already ripened, and by the time they go from the plantation to the airport, it's another few hours.
It's very difficult for the labor force themselves when they are going through a situation of not having electricity, or in the case of just having fuel to even transport the raw materials. In some cases, just a few kilometers down the road that would normally take half an hour is now turning into something that can take days for them to be able to secure the fuel to just do that. One of the biggest things we've noticed is just timeline when it comes to producing things out there. Exporting products out of there has obviously slowed down.
Nelna has seen its exports drop by 23% in 2022. Exports like mangoes are a source of foreign currency, sorely needed by the country.
I think the main factor in influencing the road to stability is the foreign currency reserves. As you know, Sri Lanka had to unilaterally default on its debt obligations in April this year because we had almost no foreign reserves.
Sri Lanka is facing its worst economic turmoil since independence from Britain in 1948. The country owes $29 billion to foreign lenders. That's about 120% of its GDP. Japan and China are the largest single lenders. China holds about a fifth of Sri Lanka's overall debt portfolio.
The level of public debt is extremely high and much above even the peer group. So putting debt on a sustainable path is one of the crucial factors that we think could pave the way for a recovery of the overall fiscal position and of the economy going forward. There is local currency and foreign currency debt, which is roughly equal. So there could be a need to restructure either just the foreign currency or lower the interest cost.
Analysts say the restructuring of the country's debt will be a far from straightforward process.
It could be more complicated because you have the India, Japan factor. It's not just China. So I think the direction and approach that China takes will determine that second bunch of debt, which is the bilateral debt. That's going to be the tricky part.
Other emerging markets will be watching closely as Sri Lanka's debt crisis unfolds.
Sri Lanka is going to set a precedent for potentially a swathe of other countries. And, as with all of these restructurings, the question is, how much pain essentially can the general population, how much pain is it willing to take? As the IMF is probably understanding that what they agree with Sri Lanka is likely to set some kind of precedent for other countries. The same is 100% true of China also. That if China writes off its debts to Sri Lanka, does that become, various countries in Africa demand that China writes off their debts?
Sri Lanka's debt crisis offers a stark reminder for other developing countries and those seeking loans.
The first lesson would be, the source of capital, wherever it may be from, China or Japan or commercial, domestic institutions, domestic processors need to be in place to make sure that money is being taken on for the right purposes.
As Sri Lanka navigates its road to recovery, the focus will be on straightening its domestic policies and jump-starting the reform process.
Start with government finances as a key starting point. Tax reforms have been postponed for too long. the government has been spending too little on things we need in order to grow the economy: health, education, innovation, and has been spending too much on vanity projects and projects with poor return, and also spending too much on the military.
Things could get worse before they get better. Inflation hit another record high of over 64% in August, and food prices rose over 93% year on year.
For the current situation in Sri Lanka, economic and political stability is very much needed. It urgently needs to be restored. So all of us are in favor of that, even though it is extremely difficult. I mean, in terms of introduction of new tax rules, electricity prices going up, water charges going up. It's extremely difficult for companies to bear at the current rate, and buying power of customers are also going down. But I think we'll have to get through this if at all to have a better future for the country.